My name is Sam, and I'm 40 years old. I've been working as a programmer at my current company for many years. I've always enjoyed this job a lot. I love the work of programming and find daily fulfillment in it. Initially, there were challenges, but as the years went by, my anxieties turned into confidence. I've come to believe that sticking with one thing for a long time is important. That's what I've always taught the younger folks at work. Right now, I'm just happy to be here. So all there is to do is keep on going. Maybe there will be chances to move up, or maybe someone else will come along, offering me a job. But I'm already 40 and feel like I'll be at this company forever. There's probably no chance for further career advancement. That's what I was thinking when the incident happened. A new female department head joined our company. Her name is Smith, and she's apparently 37. I admired her for becoming a department head at such a young age. The first time I saw her, she had an aura of competence. However, she was very cold towards people. "Are you only a middle school grad? Too dumb, aren't you?" These were the first words Smith ever said to me. It seems she noticed after looking at my resume. How many years back did she find? But the harassment from her continued. "Middle school grads are a hindrance to the company. Just disappear." I'm sorry. Even though I apologized, Smith wouldn't forgive me. The harassment got worse day by day, and eventually I wasn't even allowed to work. "You're not fit for the main office work." But this is the job I've been handling all along. Smith wasn't willing to listen. Is it because I'm a middle school grad? But working here, I hardly ever thought about that. My education is a thing of the past. Nowadays, no one cares about what education someone has. It's not even a topic of discussion. A week after being barred from work, I was called in by Smith. "How does it feel to be unable to work? I feel like I'm barely alive." Did Smith know that work was my passion? If she was deliberately taking work away from me, that would be the worst. She told me this: "Being a middle school grad and incompetent, you're unnecessary at the headquarters. Choose between being fired or demoted to a remote location." Lol, then fire me. Lol. At that moment, I finally understood what Smith wanted. She wanted to drive me out of the company. That's why she took my work away and created an unwelcoming atmosphere for me at the company. Thinking back, Smith was also harsh on other employees who were middle school grads. We were told every day how incompetent we were for being at the headquarters. How much distress must everyone have been feeling? There were many victims besides me. Ever since Smith arrived, the company atmosphere has clearly deteriorated, shifting from a friendly environment to one that prioritizes educational background. I remember once when Smith asked me, "Why are there so many middle school grads here?" Well, I never really paid attention to it. I truly didn't know the educational backgrounds of my colleagues. I simply had no interest in it. So when she asked, all I could give was a vague response, and for that, I was scolded by her. "It's no surprise you're not aware of it given your incompetence." I'm sorry, her look of disdain was infuriating. Who does Smith think she is? Could she say the same if she were a high school dropout? Besides, I wasn't allowed to work here anyway. If I can't do the job that gives me a sense of purpose, then there's no point in staying here. Even if I were reassigned to a remote location, Smith would still be my boss. I absolutely didn't want to continue working under someone like her. "Thank you for everything. You don't have to come back ever again." That's what I thought should be my line. I never want to work with someone like her again, let alone follow her orders. Even if she is my boss, Smith is younger and lacks manners. There's nothing about her I respect. I completed the handover documents that day and left the company. Actually, since being harassed by Smith, I had seriously considered changing jobs, believing that with my years of experience at this company, I could move to a different one. In fact, there were things I had been progressing with in secret from her. After leaving the company, I had a few places to stop by, so I quickly made my way home. After finishing my errands, I felt incredibly relieved. thinking I had finally said goodbye to that company. The next day, I got an unexpected call from Smith. Wondering what she could possibly want now made me angry. But this might be my chance to say what I've been thinking to Smith for the last time. I decided to take it positively. When I went to the company, Smith had a particularly gloomy look on her face. I wondered what was wrong, but didn't really want to pry. "What is this?" Smith showed me the handover documents I had prepared the day before. Her face was very pale. Even seeing her like that, I couldn't feel worried. "What's wrong? Is there a problem with these documents?" I asked her calmly. She then said, "Do you understand the meaning of all this?" "Of course, I understand everything. I made it after all. There's no way I wouldn't understand something I created myself. The handover documents were about programming that I had developed. It's written in technical terms, but it shouldn't be that difficult." However, Smith seemed to be having trouble. She kept looking at the documents and making puzzled faces. "Is something wrong?" I asked her. "I don't understand any of this at all. What are these documents?" Smith threw the documents at me. "What are you doing?" I couldn't believe she would treat something someone had made like that, but she kept getting angrier. "You did this on purpose to make it incomprehensible for me, didn't you?" "That's unbelievable. Anyone who works with programming should be able to understand it. I thought you would understand it, but it seems that Smith didn't know it at all. I had thought she knew everything because she acted so superior. So I always thought she wanted to fire me to take control, but it seems I was wrong." Smith didn't even understand the terminology, let alone programming. I started to get angry again to be called in over something so trivial just when I thought I was finally free from Smith and ready to start a new path, to be troubled by her again. "You made it too complicated, so I had no choice but to call you in. If you don't understand, you should have said so earlier. I inadvertently let out what I was really thinking. It's her own fault for not knowing, always acting so high and mighty and managing work. It's not my problem if she gets upset at me. This is the trouble with people who are too proud. Think about what it's like to be on the receiving end of such outbursts. How much stress do you think Smith has caused me? I really didn't want to ask someone like you. Her stubbornness is also very troublesome. Does she even realize what her role as a department head entails? If there's something unclear at work, whether it's a superior or a subordinate, you should ask frankly. Smith probably couldn't bring herself to rely on her subordinates because she thinks too highly of herself. If you didn't want to ask me, why call me in? There are plenty of other employees, so why go out of your way to summon me? Her pride is Everest size, and that's not a compliment. There are plenty of employees left who weren't let go. Does Smith not have anyone she can talk to? But then again, she's always been harsh on those around her, so it's likely she couldn't bring herself to ask questions. So that's why she called me, who had already left the company. But it seems there was another reason as well. Your way of speaking sounds so sarcastic. It had to be you, no one else. Being relied on by Smith in such situations isn't pleasing. If she was going to rely on me, she should have just asked directly instead of letting me go. It might be too late to say this now. Why did it have to be me? I asked her calmly. Deep down, I just wanted to leave as soon as possible. I wished she would get to the point without beating around the bush. All the employees said they didn't understand the meaning of these documents. Smith looked desperate. It seems not only Smith, but also the other employees didn't understand its meaning. I was surprised by this fact too, meaning no one else but me could take over this work. I thought this was nothing but Smith's own doing. She must have realized how much she usually looks down on her employees. She never even noticed their hard work. What she values most is educational background. She probably never cared about who was doing what kind of work. As a department head or even as a person, I thought something was seriously wrong with her. I lost my temper with her. So you called me back to this company for that reason. Because only you can understand it. Smith was hitting the desk, angry, even though this is all due to her usual negligence towards her work. Programming can be learned by adults if they put their mind to it. There are things that require years of experience, but the basics should be understandable. Smith doesn't try to learn by herself and relies entirely on me. It's astonishing how she looks down on others, but when push comes to shove, she clings to them. Without this, the company's programming would be completely incapacitated. Did Smith even know my role in the company? Now I'm starting to doubt even that. She seems only interested in herself, so she probably didn't know what I was doing. That's why she so easily took my job away, using my education as an excuse. I'm sure the company was greatly inconvenienced during that period. There must have been significant losses. However, the reason Smith didn't notice was because she didn't know what my job entailed. That's the only explanation I can think of. I decided to ask her directly. Did you know what I was doing in the company? She immediately shook her head. It seems it was just as I had thought. I had no interest in what a middle school grad was doing. That's only natural, isn't it? Her defiance is incredibly infuriating, but I'm no longer associated with this company, and dropping a bombshell now might just be fair game. Smith would be floored if she knew this. Suddenly, this situation started to feel amusing. It looks like I won't be leaving the company premises for a while. I found myself enjoying the thought of striking back at Smith. I was in charge of all the company's programming. This was an undeniable fact. With years of experience, I managed the programming for the company. I was trusted by my peers and had many tasks that only I could handle. That's why I found my work fulfilling and wanted to stay with the company for a long time. Smith destroyed all of that. If I'm not needed, I'm the type to back down without any regrets. It's better for everyone if I'm in a place where I'm needed. So I thought there was no longer any value for me here. I had made peace with that decision, and it hasn't changed. As expected, Smith looked like she was about to collapse when she heard my story. No way. Why, you were? The sheer volume of her voice took me by surprise, so much so that I was startled. It clearly showed how little attention she'd been paying inside the company. There were mountains of work that only I could handle, but you didn't notice, did you, Smith? Smith nodded firmly. No wonder I thought the business started going downhill after I came on board. To think it was all because of you. It's infuriating how Smith always tries to pin the blame on someone else. It's not my fault. It's hers for taking my work away. Would any of this have happened if Smith hadn't become the department head in the first place? So you hadn't realized how crucial the work I was doing within the company was. I pressed her, cornering her with my words. You didn't say a word about it, and to think that nobody else knew either. She yelled again. I can't believe this is happening. I wondered if she was losing her mind. She probably didn't want to admit she had done something wrong, especially since she made a mess of things as soon as she became the department head, and it even caused the company to lose money. I decided to ask around about a few employees who know a bit about programming, but Smith came out with something outrageous. I thought they were all incompetent dropouts, so I fired them all. That's terrible. I can't believe it. I couldn't help but yell at the sheer awfulness of it, but since she's no longer my boss, there's no need to hold back. Besides, I'm older than her. I have much more experience from my previous job, and the years I've put in are different too. I don't want to be lectured by a female department head who knows nothing about it. I may not be as troublesome as Smith, but I have my pride too. Why are you yelling all of a sudden? You're one of my incompetent subordinates, aren't you? She lost her temper, questioning my attitude towards a superior. But being yelled at by someone like her doesn't scare or bother me anymore. I just want to talk back to an ignorant and incompetent department head. She should fully realize her own disgrace. I believe she is the least suitable person for this company. She needs to reflect on the foolish things she has done. However, Smith resisted me more than I expected. You've been looking down on me all along, haven't you? Smith was furious, saying, It's unbelievable you worked this on purpose, because I wasn't aware of your work, didn't you?" I instinctively shook my head. I see no benefit in framing such a troublesome person as Smith. Besides, I thought I was on top of everything at work, so it's Smith who's at fault. But I don't get a chance to fight back. "Your silence must mean it's true, huh? You want to put all the blame on me. It's not that I'm silent by choice. Smith has been going on a monologue. I'm utterly dismayed by her disregard for others and her machine gun pace of talking. With the way this person talks, I don't think anyone can get a word in edgewise. That's probably why the high school dropout employees couldn't resist and just ended up quitting. As someone who was also fired, I can't help but feel a lot of sympathy." While I'm sighing, Smith comes back with more retaliation. "Think you're so important, but you're sighing. You're greatly mistaken." Isn't she the one who's mistaken? I've never thought of myself as important, and that's better than her way of thinking. I don't think that at all. Finally, a chance came, and I was able to talk back, but it seems like my words didn't reach her ears. "First off, isn't it true that the whole nightmare started because you never spoke up in the first place? And yet I'm the one who's been living a nightmare. This person always wants to blame someone else. If you had explained the job from the start, I wouldn't have fired you." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Not fire me, after all the times I've been belittled as a middle school grad, and now this. The company's loss is my loss, too, and it was just when I had become the department head. Smith looked down and sighed. In the end, this person only ever thinks about what's a loss for them. I feel foolish for even momentarily hoping that Smith recognized my work. If it had been beneficial for her, I would have been fired and simply bid farewell. Life just doesn't go smoothly, does it? Just my luck to become the department head at this time. Now Smith began to lament her bad luck. Because she became the department head, she had to deal with a middle school grad. As a result, spending so much effort on this has taken a toll on her mental health. "How are you going to take responsibility for this?" Smith screamed again. "They become something less than human. They seem like a monster in human form. It's a nightmare that such a true nature could become a department head. Getting yelled at out of nowhere sure is startling." I couldn't help but retort to Smith, even though now seemed like the worst time to rub them the wrong way. I couldn't contain my anger towards Smith. "What do you know? Do you have any idea what I've gone through as a department head?" From my perspective, Smith seemed quite satisfied with their work. Subordinates always complied, and employees Smith wanted to fire were at her mercy. It was like the company was subject to Smith's dictatorship. The moment things start going south, it seems everything becomes a source of dissatisfaction. Such a troublesome person, no, a monster. "That's right, you should just come back to the company. Then everything will work out, right?" "What are you talking about?" Smith's out-of-the-blue suggestion was utterly absurd. Telling me to come back to the company after all the bullying and hurt they've caused. Now they say, "Come back." I thought, who would agree to such a ridiculous proposition? I have my own arguments to make. I found myself shouting from the bottom of my heart for the first time in a long while and was taken aback by my own reaction. If I don't keep myself in check, I'll end up just like Smith. I might become a monstrous person myself. "Why are you suddenly screaming? You're giving me a fright." Smith asked if I had gone mad. Her way of speaking only infuriated me more. "The one who's lost their mind is you, isn't it?" I blurted out again. I felt utterly pathetic, but no matter what she said, I had no intention of returning to the company. It was time to speak my mind fully. I'm no longer under Smith anymore. I don't care if I'm disliked or whatever. "Why are you shouting again?" Still, I retaliated against Smith without hesitation. "I will never return to the company, no matter what you say." "Why not? I'm telling you it's okay to come back." Smith's attitude was as condescending as ever. "It's because you are there. Besides, the company doesn't need me anymore." I'm saying I'll let you come back, and you're upset with me. This person has no idea what they did wrong. There's a need to say more. You judged employees solely on their educational background and disrupted the harmony within the company. I disrupted the company's harmony? You intend to pile on more accusations? Smith's sins were quite serious. She unilaterally fired other employees who didn't finish high school, just like me. Among these employees were many who were younger and had their futures ahead of them, and Smith crushed them. I cannot forgive her for stealing people's futures. I thought you were fired because you understood the meaning of programming. Once again, I exploited Smith's weakness of not understanding programming. Bringing that up again, I'll even retract saying you were just a middle school grad if you come back. Smith seemed to be getting a bit defensive under the criticism. What's been said once cannot be unsaid. Words cannot be taken back, nor can the person they were said to just forget them. Have you finally understood how I felt? There's no way I could understand that no matter what. Smith showed no sign of remorse. I decided it was time to deliver the final blow. I've already secured a job at a major corporation. At the mention of the company name, Smith's face went pale. When did you manage to get into such a big company? I laughed heartily. Ever since you started harassing me, I had been visiting this corporation several times. They happily hired me after seeing my years of programming experience. Of course, I would start working there after leaving the current company, but they even said they'd wait until then. It's a company at the forefront of programming in Japan, and I'm confident I can advance my career there. I was sure of it. I've successfully secured a job, so I have no more business here, I coldly stated to her. How can someone like you, a middle school grad, get a job at such a big company? Smith was furious, saying it was impossible. Oh, I thought we weren't using the phrase middle school grad anymore. You really are incompetent, aren't you? I'm incompetent, I nodded. You don't try to understand your employees at all, which makes you an incompetent department head. Of course, you're also dragging the company down. I've never encountered such a terrible department head since I started working. You're the first and hopefully the last. I'm incompetent, Smith echoed. Anyway, I said I would never return. I said and left the company. Dealing with Smith any longer felt like it would truly drive me insane. I couldn't wait to get out of there as quickly as possible. Later, I heard Smith ended up managing all the programming alone, but since she never really understood it to begin with, the company's management rapidly deteriorated. It seems Smith was collectively blamed by the employees. I heard that with her high pride, she couldn't bring herself to apologize and chose to resign on her own. It's all her own doing, so I can't interject. What happened to Smith afterward seems to be unknown to anyone. Having secured a job at a new company, I am living a very fulfilling life. The employees are all very kind, and the environment is welcoming. Additionally, there are many programming geniuses here, allowing me to strive and improve. I'm once again reassured that joining this company was the right decision. I wholeheartedly want to continue doing my best at this new company.